My name is Mel, and you're not this way to change. You are going to be different. My name is Mel, and you're not this way to change. You are going to be different. You are going to be out. You are going to be bigger and larger than ever. That is impossible. And you know why? It's just you and I when you find the power that's been born inside of you all of this time. And all of this time you were afraid to go out no longer. Would that be the case? You will be the son. You will be the God or goddess of. And you will be the one that everybody turns to and says, hey, look, there, the master there, the teacher there, there's the one that will make my life different. And would I to do that? Remember, just trying to tell you, I'm here to tell you, I'm here to change your life. Your life will no longer be the same. Be together, I'm going to conquer your world. And for you know everything you imagine possible. It's done possible for one simple reason. Everything is possible, possible. My name is Mel, and you're not just going to change. You are going to be different. My name is Mel, and you're not just going to change. You are going to be different.
And welcome to yet another program of Uncommon Sense. This time we've got some of our machines together, and so it became a little bit easier to broadcast. What had happened before was several things that happened without me having any control over the internet, which again combined with the computer being freezing up the way it was, and everything else, it was very difficult to get everything in order. But slowly, as I rebooted this whole thing, tried to figure it out with a new operating system that was the old one, which works better on the, by the way, the new operating system does not work with devices that are 12 years old. Just to let you know, it became a little bit difficult for me to do that. So I had to do something a little bit different. I had to find an old source for the one I'm using. I think it's Catalina. I'm not sure. And started to work things together and started to operate. There's still internet connectivity issues, but I think this may be related to what we were discussing the last time, a StarHub issue. And that's who we are tuned into. Their Linksys router doesn't work so well, or it's after some time, it's still within the warranty of 2 years, but after some time, I think we're at the two months short of the 2 years, and it's starting to act up. It's not starting to broadcast properly. We're supposed to have 900 megabits per second instead of the 90 that I'm getting right now. So halfway through this program, I have to warn you, we may be cut off, courtesy of StarHub and company, and so on and so forth. So let's welcome to the studio. My mother is watching. Hey, Mamji, thank you. Diana Lane, where have you been? You're supposed to give me a call. You still have my number. Call me and we'll have a cup of coffee somewhere. She says, spirituality, loving and respecting every living and non-living thing. So, living and respecting everything. Which there is no, what's the, oh, this is the living dead. I forgot about that though. That could be something that's outside the definition. Sometimes though, in reality, it's a little bit tough to love some living things. I mean, we eat them, for God's sake. If you're a vegetarian, okay, you try your best, but still you're slaughtering carrots by the millions every year, and so on and so forth. So who knows? But then again, non-living things, I mean, there's some things that you, I don't know, may not like lava in your front seat of your car or something like that. Who knows? I mean, look, you're going to have to use common sense, and you're right. If you can be loving and respectful as a person generally, I think you've got it made. We don't have to become Buddha, all of us, because I think that's a little bit impossible. Maybe you might be the one to make it possible. Someone had asked me, and we're waiting for Luc Gill to come on board, and he's wandering around Varna a little bit, looking for deals and working out some plans and etc. 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 The question, the only question I don't have an answer to is, hey, Mel Gill, where's Luke, your son? I don't know. That's the only question I'll say I don't know. Somebody asked me a question, I think the last time Luke had picked up one of the questions that was asked of me, and again, is being asked of me directly on my page as well. What is the difference between enlightenment and being awake or awakening? And there are lots of answers that people have. And people ask these questions because they want to know a little bit more. Awakening is basically to wake up. Like Buddha means awake, and Buddha is one who is awake. So to awaken is to wake up and start looking honestly and objectively at everything around you in your world, in your life, in your relationships, in yourself, in your realizing that you are in control of your awareness and what you pay attention to. Your thoughts, your feelings, all of these things are important, because if you pay attention to certain thoughts, you will have certain feelings and certain results. If you pay attention to certain feelings, then you start to imagine that they must be because they exist because of a certain thought or a certain reality. In cognitive behavioral therapy, we call it a cognitive distortion. It's emotional reasoning. If I feel suspicious of someone, it's because they did something. That's not, you're not in the right mind when you start thinking like that. So you have to start thinking critically and start to decide in your life, your own life, not anybody else's, just your own life, what is negative and what is positive, what is right, what is wrong, and what's good for you. And of course, what's bad for you. And if you want to extend it, see what's good for all the general good of the people out there, and then good for nature itself. So as soon as you awaken, you begin to find out that the world is it's like a hell, actually, and people are violent, cruel, egoistic, narcissistic, greedy, and in one word, quite negative. So how do you recover from that? Well, it's really jaw-dropping when you think about it, how much we project upon the world of what we think enlightenment is. And people think it's unnatural, but you know what? It's natural. It's a natural process. It's ordinary process and can be very easily attained. But the projections that you make upon people and upon the world and upon the things that happen to you, well, it may make it seem as if enlightenment is very extraordinary and only reserved for a certain number of people, people who have certain gifts and abilities. And of course, you start looking at characteristics of enlightenment in people, and then you start to believe that they're enlightened because they fill these criteria. But those criteria are projections from you onto somebody else, or what you believe you experienced when you were a child, when you were an adult, as your religious teachers or your people from school or your parents may have told you. And so you talk about projecting greatness that's outside of you, and so you tend to emulate people who have the characteristics that you think you will never possess in your lifetime. So it makes people very special when they exude the greatness that that you seem to perceive that they have. And it makes enlightenment into an attainment, that is very, for want of a better word, that is very, very far away and not achievable. So it may, sometimes you'll even get angry if somebody speaks about it and the person doesn't think it's, enlightenment is a special or qualified thing. I used to hold a lot of thoughts about what enlightenment was and what it wasn't, and I never lived my own life. I never allowed myself the freedom to be who I really was. I'd always tried to be in some extraordinary state, emotionally, mentally, psychically, spiritually. and always trying to confirm that, somehow I was in that special state, and trying to develop the powers, or what the Hindus would call siddhis, and perform miracles of some kind, and to get adoration maybe from others or notice. I have no idea what it was that drove me, but I needed to understand what it meant to become a master, and somehow along the way you had to understand that you were nothing. So then the question people would ask at that point is, so would you consider the Buddha enlightened or awakened? Is there any difference? Yes. Succinctly, there is a difference. Briefly, the word Buddha, like I said before, comes from the Sanskrit word bud, which means to wake up and be awake. Its literal meaning is closer to awakening, or fully conscious, if you will. So the Buddhist people named Buddha, meaning an awakened one, basically because they're talking about this man, Shakya Muni, I think it was called, a prince of the Shakya tribe, and he was the founder of Buddhism. But this Buddha was not referred to as Buddha by his followers and students during his lifetime. Actually, he was generally called not Buddha at that time. They called him Bhagavat, or Lord, if you will. And the English term enlightenment is the Western translation of the noun Bodhi. The term enlightenment was actually used, if you want to understand history. It was popularized in the Western world through the 19th century translations of a man named Max Muller. And it was this Western connotation of a sudden insight into a transcendental truth or transcendental reality. In fact, Bodhi is not the same as illumination, but maybe it's a path of realization or coming to understanding. And so the term enlightenment is event-oriented, whereas the term awakening is process-oriented. So the Western use of the term enlightened actually has Christian roots, as in Calvin's, it is God alone who enlightens our minds to perceive all of his truth. So the term enlightened was first being used in English around 1835, around that time. And in the mid-1870s, it became commonplace to call the Buddhas enlightened. And at the end of the 1880s, the term enlightened and enlightenment dominated the English literature. Now, I think it was a gentleman a long time ago, a historian, who wrote, "It is not all clear what gaining Bodhi means. We are accustomed to the translation enlightenment for Bodhi, but this is quite misleading, and we need to study it a little bit more." So, in reality, for a lot of other people, it's two words for the same thing. Enlightenment is actually living love, like just now, my good friend Diane had said. Enlightenment is living love, peace, joy, goodness, kindness, beauty, creativity, compassion, which means compassion, that means passion for all, enthusiastic about everybody, wisdom, truth, in each and every moment, in each and every day, in each and every week, and each and every month of your life. So enlightenment is actually being in total communication or communion or connection or a relationship with everyone and everything. And it won't stay static. It'll sometimes take a form of a wave, a sine wave, if you will, if it's steady. And sometimes it'll be up, sometimes it'll be down. A lot depends on what you're thinking about. So to be consistently in that state, you have to be totally free from stories that you're telling yourself in your head over and over again, memories and experiences of things that were always holding you back, or knowledge and images, even when they're pleasant. And you have to maintain what is called an equanimity between the feelings. In other words, to be totally free from fear, from anxiety, from personal sorrow, from hatred, from loneliness, from inner conflicts, from inner contradictions, from jealousy, from envy, from greed, from possessiveness, from competitiveness, and maybe even from all attachments of some kind. Totally free from beliefs, if you will, and that's very difficult for a lot of people to do, to turn away and tear away from all the beliefs you have. To be totally free from philosophies, from ideologies, from theories, from opinions, to be free from perspectives, to be really truly open-minded, to be free from biases, free from prejudices, nationality and identity. Come on, think about it. Identifications, who are you? Some people say, I am Mel Gill. What do you say? I don't know. I don't know. I cannot tell you for sure because it changes every single day, every single hour, every single minute, every single second. So to be free from the I, the me, the self, the so-called true or higher self, totally free of thousands of years of past conditioning of the brain, all of which limit color, shape, and distort perceptions, which prevent you from being totally lucid in a world of absolute spirituality. So, who are totally enlightened? They actually treat everyone without exception the same, with the same intensity, with the same quality of care and affection that you would give your dearest friend or maybe even your lover or child, without any sense of division, separation, or even distance, and without an iota of bias or prejudice in each and every moment of their daily life. Think about that. So when you start to understand the meaning of these words, you begin to realize that you are living in a world where there is not much that doesn't come under some form of control, usually by the society and the people you surround yourself with. We're still waiting for Luc Gill to come on board, and I don't see him or hear him now. Ashok Tucker says hello. Hi, Ashok. Welcome to the show. You are most. Let me see if I can give you. No, it doesn't do that. Let me try and do it this way, because the keyboard is. I had to make a compromise with the keyboard. I had to put it up there to be able to be not affected by it. So now what am I doing? I am going down to the invitation thing, copy the clipboard and put it here. And let's see. So this is the invitation to come on board the show at any time you want and share your wisdom with us and your knowledge and your questions so that we can discuss things. And Luke, if you're listening at all, please use the parameters I just gave you. I don't know if I sent it to you in your messenger, but I thought I did. Maybe that's why we don't see him, but we'll see. He will ping me, and let's see who else we have here. I can't see a lot of people. I don't know why this thing is not moving. So that was a question. I hope it helped you to understand that. Some people think it's a very pleasant road to enlightenment. And let me tell you from experience and from failing a lot, that enlightenment by itself is a destructive process. It has nothing to do with becoming better or happier. Enlightenment is really the crumbling away of untruth, of things that you have built up, the truth that you have built your houses upon, the foundations on which you, the I that is you, has become who you are, and protecting your foundations, because if the foundations go, then what are you building? You're building nothing. So you're finding the truth. Well, first of all, we have to get rid of the untruth so that you'll be able to see it. So it's seen through the facade, if you will, of pretense that everybody puts up, the face that everybody puts up, everybody smiling and happy, and yet behind all of it, it's not so happy, and there's a lot of pain. And so somewhere along the way, as an awakened person, your job is actually to share some of how you became awakened and aware. And awareness is not always pleasant. You always you pay attention to some things that cannot be changed, and some things that are destined to be where they are and who they are and what they are. And there are still lessons. Yes, you're fairly optimistic, but then again, you are alive, and you're fairly optimistic that you'll be alive for the next minute, although maybe not for the next day or the next week. You don't know. It's a complete, if you will, is the complete eradication of everything we imagined to be true in our life. Let me see if I still see Luke. I don't see him at all. So, I wonder why. He said he was going to be home, but he was not there. Let me put it. Am I on a private chat? No, I'm not. I'm on a public chat. Let me just check my parameters here, because my computer can sometimes edge out something and I'm not aware. Nope, everything is okay. It says I'm connected to everything. That's very cool. Maybe not so cool, because sometimes when things are working out too well, never know, huh? Never know. Oh, there he is. I see him in the background. Hey, Luke.
Hey, so sorry I'm late.
No worries, man. Fashionably late as always. I was gonna play the.
Ellie and I just got back from the real estate agent's office.
Oh yeah.
A few,
Wait. Let's not discuss that on air, eh? That's just, yeah. Let's not discuss that on air about what.
No problem.
Yeah. What I wanted to talk about was some of the messages and things that you were doing, because otherwise I would have played this song. Remember this from Cat Stevens? What this show is all about? I don't know if you hear it. Hold on.
You're breaking up a little bit every other word.
Really?
I heard Cat Stevens.
Okay, how about this? When I speak like this, can you hear me?
Yep.
You know, Facebook is going to get us for that.
It's not time to make a change.
This is what I imagine playing that would be like for the show. I would talk about something and you totally disagree with me, as if that were not normal.
You know,
State of
it
affairs.
took me a long time to agree with a lot of what you tried to teach me growing up, but I'm grateful you persisted. A lot of it's all it's clicking a little later than I thought it would, but
Oh, okay. No, I don't know if you know it. I gave up 6 years ago, but no, I'm just kidding. Just so we were talking about the difference between awakening and enlightenment, and what that would be, and some people tie it all together. And I said that maybe has a lot to do with the misnomer in the 1800s, when there was only one translator for a lot of what Buddha had gone through, and that the two may actually be a Western interpretation of something that is normal, a normal process that everybody goes through, this awakening if they so desire, or they may want to live in that illusion of life, and so find their happiness in things that are transient, not permanent. Example, wealth, money, house, relationships, so on and so forth. These are all transitory things. And yes, we may be with the ones we love now, and we have built a familiarity with them. But then again, do you remember a time that you've been through a lot of relationships and you thought they were all forever as well? And so you never know.
absolutely. I think Nothing in life is permanent. It's each moment is a gift, and I think the more that we can embrace a feeling of gratitude, um, the happier we'll be.
That's 4 posters in a row. Wow, that's pretty cool. No, tell us what you really feel, Luke.
Um, no, I mean that it's. I think awakening is never an easy thing to go through. It it forces you not just to awaken to your surroundings, but to awaken to at least what I've seen is it forces you to awaken to some parts of yourself that sometimes are uncomfortable to see, and some parts of yourself that need healing. And
Like realizing that everybody's bald underneath their hair, and he didn't like that for some reason. No, I think it's the internet connection. It's either on my end or at his end. So far here, it looks like it's okay. It's running okay. We'll wait for him to get back. And while waiting for him to get back, let me continue on that idea about you didn't like what I said?
no, I'm having some connectivity issues.
Me too.
The Wi-Fi is a little bit choppy.
Yeah, here too. I think either Uncle Sam is listening to us talking at a very sensitive time in its history, or sunspot activity, or our internet truly is shit, your end and my end as well. So, but I'm glad you started talking about. I was trying to explain to people what I meant by everyone's bald underneath their hair. The hair comes out as different patterns. It's combed a certain way. It looks a certain way, colored a certain way, and so on and so forth. And some people have a lot of it. Some people have less of it. And yet that also determines their personality. You know, some people are judged middle-aged or beyond, even though they're only in their 20s with their hair gone. And so people are doing all kinds of, what do they call it? Where they put astroturf on their head and paint it black. What the hell do they call that thing? Bio hair.
I've
something.
seen them do all kinds of different things. A good friend of mine, Francisco, just went to Bosley to, he's my age, and just got a whole new replacement
Yes.
put on.
Did he?
Yeah.
Wow. He lost all his hair? Wow.
But,
too much testosterone. We sometimes, Luke, waste so much energy trying to cover up who we really are, because we have to project a certain thing to a certain group of people, or like, say, for instance, the audience that's listening to us right now may think of us in a certain way, and so we don't want them to think differently and this and that. It's been an unwise decision for me to just speak my mind for these last few years when I do my lives. And you've seen me in public in front of 1,000 people or more. I mean, the organizers have to beg me not to tell the jokes I tell, not to use the language I use, and so on and so forth. And, and yet when I do that, everyone's a lot closer, and we are more real in what we're talking about. And there are one or two people who do complain and do their things, but those are the same people who go to church every day or every other day, and yet at the same time, they're having hookers in their hotel rooms and what have you, so they think no one can see, so it becomes a little bit difficult. So I don't take them too seriously. Margarita says hi from Greece. Hi, Margarita. Good to have you on board. Ashok, if you want to join us. So, Margarita, if you feel like joining us, just dial that little connection that you see above, and it'll be very, very good. Hazel Obias is also joining us, and Malinka is joining us as well, so far, that I can see from here. Did you want to complete the idea about this, how we, beneath every attitude that we project to the world, is the desire or the want inside of us to be loved, by many people or specific people. And beneath every anger is probably a wound that's been created, whether it's self-inflicted or not, who knows. Regardless, the wound needs to be healed somehow. And
Absolutely.
forget about responsibility and all of that. But beneath every sadness is this fear that there will not be enough time to be able to reach that healing or that place of
Yeah.
happiness or gratitude. Do you want to talk about that a little bit more? I see you with the reason. You know why I'm asking. I'll tell you so you have a direction to go. Because I see you posting extracts from what's that title of the book?
I've been working on a novel called Ghosts of Neverland.
The Ghost of Neverland. What a good title, by the way. And we started it 8 years ago.
Yeah, piece by piece, and
it's from that perspective. Speak freely.
That book for me has given me an outlet to really express a lot of the growth that I've gone through over the years, and I find that it's been really cathartic to be able to share that in the hopes that perhaps someone can learn from my mistakes and make their road a little bit easier. And I've been really interested in you know Buddhism and enlightenment recently, and there's so many different ideas on the different paths that you can take towards enlightenment. There's some people that say it can be done from the comfort of your own home in the middle of a city. There's others that say you need to be like Buddha, go off, release all attachments whatsoever. And I mean, you have to wonder. I mean, you have these monks that might go up to their master and say, are monks allowed to have phones? Are they allowed to write emails? And I guess that's okay if there's no attachments.
fly private jets. yeah. Monkeying around.
It's and I think there's no one right path to walk towards enlightenment. Everyone's journey of awakening, of personal growth, is going to be unique and individual. But I think as long as you're continuously pursuing, that next level of growth, and that continuously facing, pieces of yourself that could be improved, I think that's the most important thing.
Agreed. Sometimes when you do that, you face hard to accept facts about yourself or about the world around you. Truths, you might even find some emotions that you couldn't even name before that come up and swell up and bubble up, and they get in the way of current relationships, whether they're family or romantic or work related, whichever the case might be. And sometimes it stops us from being, or we hesitate at least from being direct. We unknowingly slip on something, or some added protection, some layer, some things that we say along the way to make it palatable. Maybe it's our growing up listening to Mary Poppins or something similar, just a spoonful of sugar makes the medicine go down. So we joke, and a lot of people cover up a lot of their pain with this very thin covering, very thin veil that separates their loneliness from the laughter. and loneliness and laughter are separated by this thin veil of, well, let's call it vulnerability. How vulnerable can you become? And how much can you hide under the veil of humor and making people laugh when really all they want to do is cry? Are we doing a good thing by making them laugh, or should we make them cry more?
Uh, you know, I think it always depends. You know, some things need to be felt, but also at the end of the day, um, you know, once you've gone through and we all have different pasts, we all have different traumas. I mean, that's the human condition. But after we've experienced it, after we've acknowledged it, you know, there's that difference between pain and suffering, and to embrace, you know, each new day and focus on the positives, focus on the, you know, laughter. The, you know, it's not always easy in all situations to have an amazing um, time, but you know, just
What is the
and
difference
keep striving
between
towards it.
pain and suffering? I mean, let's get some metaphors here.
For me, I think it I think it's the attachment to the pain. You know, I can only speak for myself, but you know, there were times in my life where I wore, you know, certain things that occurred to me, certain things that, you know, I felt were wrong, almost as a badge, as a part of myself, rather than looking at it as a, you know, these things occurred, they were growth experiences. Do I still have to feel the pain that I once felt? No. If you look at it from the other, from a completely different lens, and look at the silver lining of what it transforms us into, um, you know, everything, the weight just lifts.
Wow, very cool. I don't know if you remember that old joke that someone keeps telling us sometimes. Uh, a man has three rings in his life. First is an engagement ring, then comes the wedding ring, then comes suffering. You know, I don't know if that works the same. Oh, you agree with that?
I I
You'll find
I
out
have no
soon.
comment on that at the moment.
Yeah, yeah, good, good. See, that is awakening because you know who's listening on the other side. So you not quite Buddha. There's Buddha and there's Buddhu, which is also Sanskrit for idiot. You know, you have to decide who you are. Margarita said, ask, personally, many times people I met along my life said something that was ultimately pushed me towards awareness. That something started to form the path for me. Margarita, I would love for you to come on board this program and tell us more about that and tell your story. I welcome you to the show. Please don't, you don't need makeup and hairstylist and all of that. Look at both of us. I mean, literally, I'm wearing nothing on the waist down. So, you know, and Luke, probably similar. So nobody needs to know how we're dressed, what we're looking at, and so on and so forth. So it would be very, very um, fun to listen to you as well and what you mean. Ting Maliwan says, hello from Thailand. Could you explain me what is attachment? Hey, Luke, you used that word attachment just now while we're waiting for Margarita or Ashok or Diana. If she would come on board, that would be very cool, Diana Lane. I've been watching your dance videos. You're a great dancer. I'm painting my kitchen right now, and I'm glad listening to you. Show us your painting. It'll be so much fun. So, Luke, you want to take that question on attachment?
Absolutely. I mean, I think attachment is, it's going to be uh, something different for each different person. For me, what I've seen attachment is a, uh, a a fixation to a particular outcome. Am I attached to if you can live in all your relationships where it's a brilliant experience. It adds to your happiness. It adds to your quality of life, to have an individual with you, but it doesn't take anything away from you and who you are if they were not. Um, at that point, it's a different level of peace, um, and I guess not just for relationships, but attachments to particular outcomes, whether it's working for a particular promotion you've been looking for. If we're too far attached to it, we don't get the promotion that year. That allows us to feel a particular way. If we're not attached to it and we're grateful for where we're at in every moment, um, I think gratitude is the key to the lack of attachment.
Expanded a little bit into detachment and what that is.
Detachment.
For you. It's always for you. You're not saying this is the truth. This is Luke's truth.
Detachment. Um, yeah, just not being okay with whatever comes, being grateful for whatever comes, whatever life has to throw at you, seeing it as the gift that it is. Waking up each day and looking outside the window. If we're looking for um, things that we want to find wrong, we'll find exactly what we're looking for. But if we look and we wake up each day grateful for the bright sun, for the birds singing outside our window, for whoever we're lucky enough to still have in our lives.
So what I'm
Grateful.
hearing you say is that, let me paraphrase what you're saying, is that I like it because you're talking about the outcome. To not be attached to the outcome, to be detached from an outcome, even though you're doing it as if it's the most important thing to you. You'd like it to end a certain way. You plan for it to end a certain way. If it doesn't, you don't lose your marbles over it. You're not like just now saying you put a protective layer over something because you're afraid to say be direct or to reveal yourself and so on and so forth, because you have to protect that vulnerable part of you. So it's like putting gloves on to try and touch everything, and yet complaining that everything feels not real. And we forgot that we were the ones who put the gloves on in the first place. So to have no fear is what I hear you say as we approach experiences, people, things, objects, and even the other human beings in our lives, to have no fear as you feel fully with your five senses, with, it's all heady when you're in love in the first place. You want to make all your sensory systems scream, come alive, but yet not be so attached to it that person, the source of pleasure, sensorial pleasure, that you lose your mind when it's gone. Is that what you're saying? Yeah. So,
Yeah, absolutely.
how do you, Luke, go all in, dive all in, feel everything, feel. I remember the first time you woke up, let's just leave it there, and walked from the apartment to downtown Varna and said, holy shit, I didn't know there were so many colors. And you had, allowed yourself to experience what that place was instead of reacting against the place and so on and so forth. And couldn't understand why I loved it so much. It was not so much because of the people, not so much of the buildings and the beauty. There's something else intangible. I can't put my finger on it. I can't say what it is. I wish I could. Maybe it's the fact that 7,600 years ago that was home. I have no idea if I can put it there, but something happens to our genetic structure.
To it.
Explain how it is for you, because by the time I finish explaining that, people think I'm crazy.
You know, I've never experienced anything like a knowledge of a past life or anything like that, but I do know that, you know, when I walk out here, when I take a walk through the Sea Garden, there's a gorgeous 10-kilometer garden running right along the beach. Um, it's something like nowhere else on this planet where you just feel revived. You feel um, healed almost. I can't quite put it into words.
Hmm. When I am in Varna and people ask me, how could you repeat the same activity every day? No change. You don't want to go to the other beaches where people are dancing, playing, listening to music, getting drunk, da da da. You don't want to go south where people are exploring caves and other things and so on and so forth. But I repeat the same ritual almost all the time. And every day when I wake up, Luke, over there, over here, it's a different story because there are a few things I have to do. So there are roles I have to take on. And it's a little bit tough when you have several things hanging over your head and you have to kind of work on them. Like, say, for instance, this book that this weekend I will finish. Then he can stop screaming at me. I deglove myself. You know, I told you when you put on a layer to protect yourself from the world and then you touch everything and everything feels not real, you know, and then you forgot that it was you that put on those protections. But every day when I wake up and I say, thank you, I'm taking the gloves off. And for the first time, I'm feeling so I don't dress up in Varna at all. You know that. The same old. It's like, holy shit. How many coats like that do you have, Mel? Oh, 15. Oh, okay, great, fantastic. But you don't have to tell everybody that. But when I unglove myself, the doorknob, our doorknob, you know, the to our apartment, I can feel the coldness of it. I can really feel it. There's that sudden smell in the hallway. I don't know how to describe it. It's completely different from, say, Orlin's apartment building where you know the mafia has buried some bodies and the smell is there. It's the same. You know, and almost every Bulgarian home is the same. Bulgarian embassy, it's the same. Holy shit. How do they transfer the smell? It's part of a thing. But yet in the apartment that we're in, it's not like that. There's something amazing about it, and I don't know how to explain it. It's this beautiful scent or something with the cleaners use with the bleach or something that reacts with the walls. I have no clue, but I feel that, I smell that, I take the elevator down, and and sometimes when Orlin is picking me up, right, or there's been a rain or something, I can feel the handle as it's wet, you know, and cold, and you know it's going to be a bitter cold day, and he's in the car praying to God. I don't want to sit outside as usual because it's like 2 degrees or something like that, and you know I love doing that. It's the meeting friends and the simple kiss goodbye, and you can feel how dry their lips are, or wet, or it's like, ew, what fish was that I just kissed? And you have no idea. And so all of those things are unrepeatable every single day because every single day it's different. So when I receive that cup of coffee, it depends on who's making it too. I won't name names because they might be listening.
They miss you down at Costa's. I was just down there earlier. Victor's wondering when you're going to be home.
Yeah.
Martine was making my coffee today.
Well, next time I meet them, tell them I've been thinking about them and I miss them as well. What country in the world, Luke, where you can leave for like 4 months or 6 months and you come back and the manager comes out from behind the counter, gives you a big hug and say, Mel, welcome back. And tells you one of two things. One, that wow, this is a family. This is a tight knit community. Everybody knows each other. Even the immigration people know. Hey, how are you? Welcome. Good to see you. Meta Tainata. Yes, of course. You wrote the book. Yeah. And when is the next one? You said it's going to be ready last year. I couldn't. Costa was closed. What could I write if it's not there? And the other reason is maybe I'm buying too much coffee. Maybe I should slow down on the coffee thing. Maybe that's why. Who knows? But the thing is, every day you give thanks for wherever it is we are. We have made a lot of mistakes. I've made a lot of mistakes, and I know you have, and you regret some of them. But you see, you don't want to. Even as you're making a mistake, there's one thing, one advice I give people: make the mistakes, but don't be an asshole as you make the mistake. You know, you don't have to be. You can be kind. You can be cognizant of other people's feelings and what have you, and all of that. And make the mistakes by all means. And I've done that. And I think somewhere along the way, I think out of all, if the whole life was 100%, maybe about 1 to 5% of the time I've been an asshole. So it's been a little bit difficult. So who knows what happens over there. Be kind. That's what we're saying.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now more than
Is that
ever.
water sound from you?
It might be I have a little friend who's purring here.
Ah, how cool is that? Another thing we're going to get slammed for. Thank you for making that public, Luke. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Just babysitting for 2 days. It's okay.
Well, you deal with what you're about to create. Yeah? I hear water. Why do I hear water?
I do hear it as well.
You know what? It's
Not
raining
rain.
outside. It's raining outside here. And that's a lot of rain actually coming down. No lightning for a change. So, all right. Do you want to add to any of the other questions? Why are people asking all these questions about spirituality and what happened to all the questions that people normally had about relationships and things like that? Were there none? Like how to conduct their lives, how to balance their nipples, ordinary things like this? No?
Maybe with the virus, people are spending a lot more time inside, both literally, figuratively, and not so much time outside to develop more relationships. Let me open up my email and see if there's any other questions that have come in today.
Because we were talking earlier, and before you came on, I was telling everybody that awakening is not a awakening. Enlightenment is not a usually pleasant experience because you're getting rid of a lot of your belief systems, and you know, we have to make no bones about it. Awakening is not a walk in the park. It's like a ride through hell. At least for me, it has been. And I'm sure a lot of people that I know has also been there because it's tearing down all of my cherished beliefs, everything that I thought was true about myself, about everybody around me, about the world. There is no way around this, you know, apart from all the conspiracies that we hear right now, and everybody's certain of what is what and which planet our genes may have come from and all of that. Do you remember The Hobbit? The last one was called The Desolation of Smaug, where they had to enter into this, what do they call it, the Mirkwood Forest or something like that to get to their destination. There was no other way for them to get there. It was not easy, you know, for them to get to where they needed to go. And likewise, we also must enter this shadow land of our mind, of our belief structures, and come face to face with all of the shadows. You You, Luc Gill, are doing it in a symbolic way as well because of this organization you just joined. We'll talk about that next month, but we shouldn't be talking about it now. And as part of that organization, which is a privilege, by the way, you come face to face with the shadows of your life and shadows of your belief. And it is there in the shadowlands that all of your false ideas of who you are, or in my case, who I am, can be actually shattered to bits. And it is there in that shadowland that all of your false beliefs are destroyed. And you come face to face with these false notions and you see them for what they are. And the only way to heal and to become whole and to live in integrity is to walk through that shadowland. You know,
Absolutely.
it's it's like a
when you want to become a new person, when you want to become the version of yourself that you've always dreamt of being, you have to shed everything away. You have to chip it all away and build from scratch. Um,
oh, more than that. If you dream of becoming that person, it's already wrong. It's an evolution that just goes easily, and that evolution that just simply happens. You cannot mold it. The truth will reveal itself slowly, bit by bit, or many truths will reveal itself. And it's up to you to not go insane, recognizing that the more, if you hold on to a belief and you believe something, then you no longer are skewed correctly to be able to see things as they are. You see things as your beliefs are, and how you feel about them, and how you have to defend them, and how secure or insecure you are as a person. If you're okay with that,
yeah,
then things become different.
massive
Do you wanna read
consequences.
to us what Ting
Um,
Maliwan?
that's a brilliant question from Ting. Actually, that's something I've struggled with quite a bit as well. She says, as she's a good listener, she's found it very difficult to set up her personal space and set up personal boundaries from people who want emotional support sometimes. And after listening to their stories, her energy starts to drain out till she needs to find ways to go and restore her energy and happiness. Could you please give ideas of what she could do, how she could set healthy boundaries to respect herself and what's needed for her own growth and peace?
Share with her. How do you know it's a her?
I'm so sorry. I assumed. I have a couple other friends that are named Ting who are female. So I
Really? Something I never heard. But do you want to tell them how you do it? Because I know you've been doing that lately
um,
as you isolate
that
yourself and you come back from New York.
it's a really tough thing to do, and it's an even tougher thing to do with people that you really love and really care about, because naturally I think we as people, we take on that responsibility. And when you have great love for someone, you will go to the ends of the earth for them. You will um, give as much energy as you can, and sometimes that does deplete who you need, who
You
who
you
you want
you
to be in the world.
you
So
said something important that would drain you like Ting is drained. You said you will go to the ends of the earth, but you see, the earth is round, so your end never shows up at any time. So so there is no
wow.
end to it. I mean, it's like if you're a flat earth believer and you believe the earth is flat, then yeah, okay, you reach the end and you fall off, right? So there is no ends of the earth. You see, you said you gave the answer right there. You give as much as you can, and then you kind of stop when you reach the beginning again.
Well, I I think that if you look at things from a lens of guilt, like when you feel like you haven't done enough for someone that you love who is, needing that emotional support, when you take that upon yourself, it's
Mm.
a much different space to be in than when you look at things through the lens of, what do I need personally? How much space do I need to bring my energy up to deal with this in the most effective way, to be the best solution, and to be the most effective for the your loved one that needs the support.
A
And
lot
if you
of
look at
a
things
lot of
through,
Egyptians suffer from that too. You know that, right? You know that. It's true
yeah,
because of the mummies.
oh yeah,
So many mummies to deal with. Sorry,
and,
it's a bad dad joke.
uh, um, but uh, my advice would be, start with the inside, and make sure that you look at things not from the lens of guilt, but from how much better you could be able to serve your friend, your lover, your family member, whoever it is, if you take that time to get yourself in the right energy and mindset.
Good. Um, Ting. Two things I need to know: are you a man or woman? Because I don't know. I'm not as wise as Luke. I don't have a lot of friends who are called Ting. I know some stores that are called something, but that's usually end up being no thing. Um, and in fact, I think the Buddha, as he was uh, teaching people to come into the same state of mind that he was experiencing and is dynamically experiencing, because enlightenment is not a one-time deal, it's a process. And he got enlightened at 28 or 30 something and stayed alive until 80 something when he was poisoned, uh, and he died. Who would want to poison the Buddha? Well, lots of people. There were 3 attempts on his life, and you were right, Luke. She's a woman, 37 years of age. So it's a perfect age because you're in between. You're halfway. You've been through a lot, and you have a lot more to go, like 5 times more. And you can. And the way to do it is ask yourself a simple question: why are you doing what you're doing? People who want emotional support sometimes maybe you could help them to a certain extent, but you've got to watch how much you're doing, because some of these people are endless black holes sucking up all your energy, and it just goes in, and it's never enough. It will never be enough. It will never be enough. It will never be enough. So you've got to divorce yourself. You got to create space. Don't spend so much time around these people. If you can do what you need to do, then back away and give yourself space to breathe, space to be that you can call your own, because you have no one else to turn to. You have to turn to yourself. And that's important. And like Luke said, go within. If you go within, you begin to realize that you are an endless source of love for the world, an endless source of or give people a sense of abundance. You heal people probably as well, if that's my guess, mentally, emotionally, and physically. And you have to be also inside the source of your own happiness. Now, when you do this, then you have to keep something in mind that I do, because if you want to know, Luke can tell you a little bit about how I overstretch sometimes, and I give and give and give until these people don't go away. and so I have things I want to do. I have things I want to write. I want to create. I have a life before I started healing people. So I need to go back into my place where I breathe and I feed myself, because it's necessary. Neurologically, be in a garden. So since I cannot be in a forest, I help to create this garden that I live in. It's a beautiful place, and I created a koi pond that is bigger than my studio, actually. with a lot of beautiful fishes. I created a waterfall, plants and everything else. And this is all very important for me to come to. And I don't bring those kind of people here. If I find somebody that's mentally ill and so on and so forth, and even though they are family, I'll spend as much time as I can. Then I will politely say, could you please go away? But don't you miss me? I say, how can I miss you if you don't go away? Go away so that I can miss you. You know, it'll be very, very cool. And it'll be a lot of fun. So maybe I've been alone too long. And so I don't need people as badly as they need me, you know, so on and so forth. So I want to help just like you. I want to give just like you. But I also want to take care of myself. So the ways in which I do it is music. I have over 190,000 songs in my computers, which is taking up a lot of my space. And they're all beautiful songs. Once in a while, I will share it with Luke, or there'll be songs I'll compose. And they're songs that I had actually put together more than 10 years ago that I wasn't allowed to release because it was supposed to remove karma from the world. And the person who told me that not to release it to the world. Do you remember Tom Lau, Luke? That older gentleman who was a ghostbuster who removed spirits and all of that. He grabbed a hold of me and he said, what did he say? If you release this to the world is not ready for this. If you release this to the world, you will die. I said, is that a threat? I wasn't sure whether I should invite him for the next sandwich or something, because that sounded terrible. I said, come on. And then he said, you have no idea who you're dealing with. I said, go back to your masters, tell them who you are just talking to, and they'll tell you who I am. And then he gave me a little crystal and they said, you are this, and it turned out to be that, thing we are both familiar with. It's going to open up a whole can of worms, so I'm not going to do that here. So practical advice thing is, no, that was a joke. When I said, if you want me to miss you, you have to go away. That's the first prerequisite. If you want to go to heaven, you have to die. These are things that people practically have to do, but they don't do it. And so if you want to experience heaven on earth, then you're the one that decides at this point how your thinking is. So when you think you are drained, you are drained. When at some point you are physically drained, then give yourself time. Go to the forest, sit down, breathe, meditate. Take a short holiday within your country. I'm guessing you're in Thailand. There's so many places to go. Oh my God! Within your own borders, you got Koh Phangan, which is an unspoiled paradise, more or less. If you go to where Luke stayed, Pattaya. Is it Pattaya?
Pattaya was nice. I loved it
Yes.
there. But even further south in the Fifi Islands, a little bit more remote.
Those are beautiful places. Yeah. Pattaya is crowded though, right?
Say again?
Pattaya is very crowded. It's where bodybuilders and hookers go, isn't it? Or I have no idea.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
Okay, good. But the food is cheap and everything is okay, and you could go up north to the where the dinosaurs are, up northeast. I think udon, not the same place where the udon noodles come from, but you know what I mean. And those are places you could go. It's so amazing. You could even go to the Golden Triangle. What's a resort that we used to stay at, Luke? The Anantara? The Anantara Resort. Well, there you go, thing. Just go north. Stay at the Anantara Hotel. It's the hotel that is also an elephant preserve. They raise elephants there and they look after them and all of that. They don't make them go through all kinds of tricks and things. They run wild. And Luke, I think there's a video somewhere where he thought he was the elephant whisperer. And I said to myself, damn, I think we're going to have to bury him here somewhere because this is Elephant with no, what do you call the person that looks after the elephant? They had a special name
No
for him.
trainer. They were running wild in the fields, but
Yeah,
sometimes you just feel a special connection with an animal, and
yeah, yeah. And your sister was nearly
there's
crying
something to it.
because she said I had to stand in front of her to protect her from this elephant. But anyway, long story
Yeah.
short, um, the idea is find a place where you can heal within your country and where it's not so expensive. And now with COVID, you can't go anywhere anyway. But if you cannot, then develop that place inside of you. If you learn to turn all your attention inside, you will reach that point where you start to open your third eye and you start to open up access to various realities that are interdimensional, transdimensional. And this will also allow you to recognize the reality you're in, the solid three-dimensional reality we call Earth and living here on Earth, is a matter of illusion. You could create anything you want, but if you are attached to the thing you're creating, then you've lost the whole fight anyway. So what if you make $1 million and you're attached to that? Then you kind of lost the point of being uh, the supreme spiritual being that you want to be, awakened. But if you want to lose yourself in that illusion that money is everything, then there are so many schools of law of attraction uh, stuff going on the internet and laws of distraction, and you decide. And if you're looking for a soulmate, then you're also equally sad, an individual, because you are your own soulmate. And how can you dare love someone else or claim to love someone else when you don't even know how to love yourself? So you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you'll be surrounded by a lot of bullshit artists living in a three-dimensional structure that has been created by the powers that be, that gives you what is known as reality, and reality is what you see on television all the time and in the movies. And in the movies, people within an hour and a half meet, they have issues, they have problems, there's a bad guy, they get rid of the bad guy, and so on and so forth. And movies that do really well, the good guys win and the bad guys die, and so on and so forth. And this is how they are. And it teaches you values like revenge and many other things. And so at the end of the movie, 1.5 hours later, the two people who are the protagonists in the movie walk hand in hand towards the sunset. It doesn't happen in real life like that. So to make it stick, they created songs, and so many beautiful songs. And the songs are written by people who are highly endowed geniuses with words, with poetic sentences, and an ability to come up with musical structures, but severely depressed and also lonely as hell, and also schizophrenic in some way, and also you can count the mental disorders in a lot of the people who write the songs, and genius borders on mental illness also at the same time. So then again, you ask yourself all these questions: is it really true that when Mariah Carey says, "I can't live if living is without you," really? Sometimes it's better to live without somebody else. You know, sometimes you can live. You have lived. How did you live before that person arrived? How did you live? How did you think? What did you do? To put so much strain on a relationship. Then forget that. How about the work that you go through, Luke? The job that you defines you. I am a crypto trader, a fitness peak performance expert. I'm speaking like Luc Gill. Do I sound like you
You,
a little bit?
you know what's interesting though is as you begin to start to turn within for a lot of the answers, and slowly start to dissolve a lot of these notions of who you thought you were. You also start to see where a lot of them came from, and there is a huge influence in the media and TV and in Hollywood, they
Books.
form these frames of books. They form these frames of what relationship should be, of what love should look like. They form these patterns that we get used to of the bad guys and the good guys. And it's not often that we stop to think that there's not a single person out there listening, there's not a single human on the planet who isn't the good guy in his own story. There's
Yeah, everybody's the
and
good guy.
wh-
I'm, you know me, Luke. I'm the bad guy in a lot of people's stories here.
well,
I am.
you're a
I
good guy
am.
in
I'm
my
not
book.
kidding.
That's all that matters.
What? What?
I said you're a good guy in my book. That's all that matters.
You have a book? What happened to the previous book? I remember when you were 6 years old. You're the worst daddy in the whole world. I said, really? There were 3 people worse than me. I know you didn't do a survey. It's all self-serving, isn't it? Just
Yeah. Yeah.
I wanted to play a song and I thought I had it, but I don't have it here. Damn. You know Pocobel's Canon? Pocobel's Canon in D major, the one they play during weddings.
Mhm.
How does it go? Uh, I can't. It's not in my computer, and it's only in this computer. But then if I do that, then we're cut off, and I don't know what the hell happened at that point. But you know what I'm talking about. They play it in during the wedding thing, right? If you study the history, Johann Pocobel created that piece of music for a woman who was married to somebody else and who was his lover, da 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 da, and so on and so forth. And the origins of the music, think, wow, wait a minute, are you going to be meeting the neighbor? I said at some point, yes, she lived in the castle. They were so sad to be apart from each other, so this was the tribute for them. It's very, very cool. And that's why you see me always very happy when I'm invited to some weddings and I'm going to idiots. Yeah. And Thing says she's given up. She says she will sing a song called Zombie. Sometimes that might work. Margarita says, I really think that you are in my mind. I agree about the songs. Really, mostly prefer music. But if I were in your mind, Margarita, you will know. You will feel it. But if you were in my mind, in 5 minutes, they'll send you to a mental hospital. It's very difficult to survive there. Like not a lot of people survive around me, and relationships don't last very long for me as well, because I speak my mind. Sometimes to Luke's chagrin, and he doesn't want me to do that. I am the father he warns people about before he lets them meet me. I apologize, but this is my father.
It's good. It helps people build a thicker skin.
Yes, definitely, especially you, because Luke, I'm your father. You just have to chop off your arm with, or was it just a hand? He chops off the hand with the laser lightsaber. Who knows? Did we go off the topic? We went off the topic, didn't we? So far off. Yeah, sorry, let's get back.
Off topic. No worries. I apologize. I'm a little bit sleep deprived today. I got into a zone last night, and I just couldn't stop writing. But
good for you.
Waves come over, and you just.
Well, after this radio program, I'm actually I took my modafinil and what's the other one I used to take with it to stay wide awake. Paracetam, yeah. Mm-hmm. And so they're kicking in slowly. Paracetam is a little bit slower than faster than the modafinil, and I will be awake till about 5:30 in the morning. But I'll finish at least 9 or 10 of these things that I need to pump out. Each of them 75 pages. So we're talking about 700 pages between now and 5:30 p.m. So we'll see.
Mel, I
So,
have read your book, and it's a great blessing and inspiration to me.
oh, thank you, Ding. There's a second part of that book coming out, the Metasecret Book 2, and it has to do with uh, uh, the realm of masters, where I went and got a lot of things happening, and how you can prepare your way to go into the realm of masters and to be able to understand what happens to you after you die, quote unquote, die in this life where you shed this body, and then what happens to you in the preparations before the next incarnation. Or some of the people don't go through incarnations and what have you, they go through something else. There's another process, and everybody just gets higher and higher and higher. If you can imagine it, everybody comes to a point at some point. They shouldn't have said it that way, but if you can imagine a sphere, and we're all starting on the outside of the sphere as this human, animal, whatever you want to call it, and then we come closer and closer and closer towards the center, and the center is where you start to reach the source, and the source is you, and it's always been you, but it's not in the 3D world you can imagine. It's a little bit unimaginable. If I try to explain it, I sound a little bit crazy because it's there, and there's no difference between what is there and what is here, because there's no space between us in a non-temporal world where there's no time or timelessness. Then you take a look at the non-duality of everything as well. No good, no bad. These are all things we make up as we go along the way. That's a lot of water. You hear it in the background?
I do hear it. Yeah. You know, I have an experience I had while meditating the other day.
Yeah.
What
Either the
you
waterfall
hear-
has turned in.
what you're describing, but
Yeah.
I would love to pick that up on the next program. I have 7 minutes to make it down to my next meeting in the center.
Yes. Take the 1 minute to talk 2 sentences about the experience you had, and then I'll follow up.
I was using the CE5 protocol, the CE5 meditation by Stephen Greer, and I've been making a habit of listening to this meditation every night before bed. And you know, I try to make a habit of turning inward, of trying to quiet the mind, but it's easier said than done. And the other night, it was the first time in my life where I was able to quiet my mind completely, to the point where there was nothing else existed, and I felt myself. It sounds crazy, but sink into myself invertedly to a place that it was here but not here. It felt warm, it felt safe, but it was here and everywhere at the same time. And it was in that place that I felt this immense interconnectedness of of the world, of what I am, of what we are as a species, and how I don't even know how to put this in words that sound sane. I think you're gonna have to visit me in the mental hospital after someone sees this.
Our language makes it hard to describe what you went through.
Yeah, but this place, it didn't have any time. It didn't have any space, and yet it felt more real and more right than what I'm used to experiencing on a daily basis in this three-dimensional reality.
Teach you one thing before you go. The next time you can conjure up that feeling, find a way to do it. Get back there, even if it takes hours of meditation. Even if you have to, it'll give me a week to finish up the actual CE5 protocols and that will make this happen. and you try it, and when you're in that state, you do not need anything, but you exist in the real world. You have needs, you have preferences and things that need to be taken care of. We walk a practical line between spirituality and actual life on earth. Ask for the thing you most need without needing it. Sounds crazy. Ask for the thing you need without needing it so much, and say, I want, I will create. Then you are part of that whole creation that responds to your need and your command. Most people who are very adept at doing this do it silently, and it's very easy. It's easier to bring to themselves and to be able to create, but then they really know in their heart, this is not important. None of this is important. It's just the role you play. It enhances the thing, whatever it is you do, without being cerebral about it. All right, go. Thank you very much, Luc Gill, for being part of the program. I will start to close.
Thank you for having me.
We'll see
Thank
you.
you guys so much for tuning in.
See you next Wednesday.
Looking forward to it.
And I'll talk to you later. I'm up until about 5 o'clock, so give me a time. Give me a call whenever you want to.
No worries. I'll give you a call after this meeting.
Okay.
Take care, guys.
Bye. And that was Luc Gill giving us an idea of what he experienced as a form of interconnectedness of all things. And as we talk about all of these various events that happen, let me say one thing that would help you in your learning. When you want to learn new things, it's exactly like trying to build a new house. And being a new house that you can occupy, where the rooms are exactly the way you want, the bedrooms, the bathrooms, the kitchens, the living rooms, etc., you first have to tear away the old house and then take a look at the foundations upon which that was built. And when you strengthen the foundations, then you begin to realize that the new house will not be able to be, because once you build it, you won't be able to change it at any one time. So the trick is to be able to build your house on something that is dynamic and moving all the time. Not so much foundations per se. Allow your foundations to be skills, talents, abilities. These are things that's good, but allow your house to be made of knowledge that is changeable, plastic, movable, bendable, malleable, so that everything then adjusts with the more knowledge that you have. So when you read the book, The Meta Secret, that's kind of giving you the kind of skills and foundations you kind of need in terms of ability and in terms of what is possible for you to make happen in your life. And then after that, in book 2, you begin to realize the complexity of the architecture of living and dying and and being reborn into a new reality, into a new learning. Because all of Earth is a school, and the whole point of the school is that you leave all of your chalk, all of your dusters, all of your books, all of your squares, all of your erasers and pens. You leave it all behind, and what you take with you is just the learning, and the learning continues, and school never ends. So in a way, it is like feeling your way through, because underneath everything, there is only one emotion that bubbles and blisters, and that's the need to go home, to be able to understand what we're made up of as we grow towards this. So look forward to book number 2 and book 3 at the same time, which are being prepared as we speak, actually. So I used to struggle myself, fighting off a lot of sadness or trying not to be anxious. But most of us learn that once that drop of melancholy or unrest beads on my heart, on your heart, trying to feel anything else is really a denial. Because once the mind, like a long guitar string, is somehow plucked with the slightest agitation, there is nothing to do but to let it wring itself out. We all know of the tears that turn to laughter, or the laughing that breaks open to a cry, or the anger that crumbles into a tender loneliness, or the cool face of indifference that cracks and eventually shows its adhesive of fear. Amazingly, as the infinite forms of flowers all rise from the same earth, the earthly garden of emotions in all of their delicate shapes and colors, they all arise from the same earth of heart. What this opens for us is the often hard to accept fact that underneath there is only one unnameable emotion, which all feelings know as home. Despite our efforts to be happy, and not confused, to be understanding and not angry, despite all the ways we carve up our reactions to living and then run from one to the other, despite our fear of certain feelings, it is feeling each of them all the way through that lands us in the vibrant ache that overrides our very being to be alive. So to reach this vibrant place is what we call healing. It's a hard thing, though, to lean into a sadness that we don't want, to let the tremor of anxiety work its way through. For myself, my resistance to unpleasant feelings has been my fear that if I give over to the sadness or the anxiety or the confusion or pain that is on me, that I will drown in it. I fear it will take over my life. I will become nothing but sadness or anxiety or confusion. But what I discover again and again is that feeling any one feeling deeply enough, that is thoroughly and completely and somehow opens me to the common source of all feelings. And at the source, no one feeling can last by itself. So through our feelings, not around them, we come upon the unnameable source of all feeling that can heal us of the pain of any one mood. And as we breathe steadily through all of the pain, through all of the floods of emotion that seem to bring us near, not completely, but near drowning, it's at that point that you begin to realize who you really are, and that you will never ever be the same in any one moment, in any one day, that you will go forward, just like the sound of the heavy rains that are all around me. For some people, they see that and they say to themselves, what an inconvenience. And for some others, they would look at that and say, what a miracle that I can experience this on this planet, at this time, in this place. I want to thank you for listening to this program and for being patient to stay all the way through. The program is called Uncommon Sense, and you're listening to the voice of Dr. Mel Gill. Good night, everyone. The song that you hear every night that closes this program is called 2 Days of Rain, written by John Bjork.